Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now in today's video we are going to be doing an unboxing, teardown and run of this. It's an Eachine EAT15. It's like a little 1/18th scale brushless drift car. It's been supplied to me from Banggood for review, so big thumbs up to Banggood. There will of course be a link in the description to where you can get one of these from if you so desire. Now the car itself I think is styled to look like a little Lancia Delta Intergrale, which is no bad thing because they're quite cool cars. Price wise I think it's on Banggood at the moment for 77 quid, which is about $103, which is not terribly cheap for a 1/18th scale RC, but it's not like super mega money either. Anyway, enough waffle from me. Let's get the box open and see what the contents are like. Right then, in the box we get our parts and instruction manual. We get a spare battery. We get a bag of bits which contain some drift tyres, a little metal wheel wrench stroke spanner, we get a battery charger, we get some spare steering linkages, possibly a little screwdriver, and some spare R-clips as far as I can tell. We've also got a transmitter, and it's got steering trim, steering dual rate, we've got two switches for reversing the throttle and the steering, we've also got an on-off switch on the side. We've got a channel 4 button here, or a switch, which allows us to, I think it's 50, 75 and 100% power output. I'll have to check in the manual. Channel 3 button, I think, which cycles the LED lights. There's different patterns you can have in the lights. Now, interestingly, it's got a little knob there which says ESP. I think this controls the electronic stability program, or the stability system, in the ESC that's on the car. Basically what this tries to do is, depending on the sensitivity, you can turn it up or down, it tries to straighten up the car constantly. Apparently this makes it a lot easier to drift, so I'm interested to see what effect that actually has, because I've never owned an RC with a gyro in it basically. Now then, we actually come to the car itself, and normally I'm not a big fan of road-based RCs. I'm more of an off-road man, but this thing looks epic. It really does look like a little Intergrale rally car, so I'm quite excited to see what it's actually like. We've got a set of rubber tyres on this. Now you get a set of rubber tyres and obviously the drift wheels, which you can interchange between the two. Anyway, I think this thing looks absolutely fantastic. Let's get the lid off and have a look inside. Right then, underneath we have the other spare battery. It's a little 2S lithium ion. It's got this nice little retaining plastic arm here with an R-clip, stop it moving around, which is a nice little feature. We've got our little 2435 brushless motor. This is around 3900 kV, I believe. Look at the amount of space we've got here between that and the servo. So 2445 brushless motor will fit in here, no problem at all. Not sure if a larger diameter one would, because it's quite close to the chassis. We've got a little 3-wire steering servo. It's always nice to see the 3-wire, not 5. And here we've got, I think it's 25 amp ESP, ESC and receiver combo all in one little box there. Now I took one of the wheels off to see if the drive cups are metal, and they are. Drive shafts also are metal, and it's running on ball races. Now one of the first things you notice about this car is how hard the suspension is. It has got two little collars around each shock absorber, so you could probably take those off and make it a little bit more compliant, but it's probably that hard to make it easier to drift, I would imagine. Now I might have made a mistake earlier on in the video when I said this was 1/18th scale. It does say 1/16th in the instructions. Whether or not it is, it's debatable. It's difficult to tell, to be honest. One other cool feature about this is these little wheel hexes here are actually shaped like brake discs, and you can see them when you look through the tyres. Now I know that on the brushed version, the transmission, apart from the main shaft, central shaft, all the gears are in fact plastic. Now I'm not sure if this is any different on the brushless version. They do feel as though there is some metal in there, so what I'll do, I will take a couple of the covers off and we'll have a look inside. Well, this is interesting. We've got the standard brass gear on the end of the motor pinion and the standard plastic gear on the central transmission shaft. If we move down to the ends of that shaft, we've actually got metal bevel gears on the end. Now normally on the brushed version These are plastic as well. Now I was hoping that the differential internals would be metal as well, but unfortunately they're not. They're plastic. Now I'm going to apologise for the light in here at the moment. It's terrible, but as you can see, the gears inside the diffs are plastic, so they're basically the same as the brushed version. So the only difference really between the brushed and the brushless is you get two metal bevel gears on the end of this central transmission shaft. Anyway, I will put it back together, and I think what we'll do is have a look at the front lights. Right, then it's back together. Let's check out some of these transmitter functions. The transmitter itself takes 4 AA batteries, which you have to supply. The channel 3 controls the lights, so we can cycle through the lights by pressing the button. That's my personal favourite. It looks like Satan. So you can basically cycle them through. You can have them on, off, the central white portion only. You can have the red ring appear around them, just the red ring, etc. Right, this channel 4 here is the dual rate. So if we set it to 50%, if you take note of the noise, we can set it to 100. So there's a definite difference there. We can also check out, while it's on this little stand, we can also check out the ESP. Now I'll sort of drag you around here. Now I'm not going to touch the actual steering, but I'm going to apply the throttle and add some yaw to the car, and you watch the steering try and correct itself. So I don't know if you could notice there that obviously it's trying to correct the yaw in the car. So hopefully the stability control is supposed to help with drifting. But we'll soon find out as soon as my spare battery charges up, and then we'll take this thing for a rip, see what it's like. Okay, then back inside, what do we think of Eachine's EAT15 brushless rally car stroke drift car? Well, let's not break with tradition. Let's start with some bad points. First of which is the servo saver backed itself off towards the end of the video, so I lost steering. But it wasn't really much of a problem because the batteries are flat anyway by the time I finished, but I lost the steering towards the end of the video. It was an easy fix, just tighten the servo saver back up and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, away you go again. Another bad point, as far as I can tell, is the fact that there aren't many upgrades for this. I would have liked to have seen possibly a metal upgrade kit for the central drive shaft gears and the differential units. I mean, there might be one about. I haven't come across it yet, so if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen many upgrades with regards to the transmission. You can upgrade the motor. You can fit a larger, higher kV motor, and obviously the electronics can be replaced. but I just would have liked to have seen a few more upgrades with regards to the transmission. At several points during the film and the video, I think the ESP must have got a little bit confused, and it did start sending the car off in some very strange directions. All I did was basically turn it on and off again, and this must have reset the gyros inside. I think sometimes after it's had a bit of a knock, it can do some very odd things, but I don't know if it's particular to this one or they're all like that, but the ESP did occasionally send the car off in a weird direction. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad point, but it's something I was a little bit surprised at, is the fact that we've got a brushless version and they still supply the original lithium ions with it. Now, most cheaper Chinese manufacturers, when they produce a brushless version, you get a couple of lipos, or you get a lipo with it to take full advantages of the brushless system, basically. But on this you don't. You do get the standard lithium ions, which sort of, in a way, is sort of holding it back. But I suppose there's another dimension there if you wanted to increase the performance, is obviously fit a lipo. But as standard, it would have been nice to get one. Okay then, let's have some good points. Now then, spares backup is excellent for this. I think there's another 2 versions of this out. There's the Pinecone models version, the UD-IRC version. So there's plenty of spares floating around for these, so if you break something, it's going to be a fairly cheap and easy fix. Another good point about this thing is the looks. I absolutely love the looks of this. It looks like a little tiny Intergrale rally car. I think by far this is the best looking version that they've come out with so far. I mean, there's 2 other versions of this. There's that funny looking pickup one and that Hoonigan Mustang looking thing. But I think by far this is the best looking one. Another good thing about this RC is the transmitter. It's got loads of functionality about it. It does actually feel like a nice, good, chunky, solid piece of kit. I do like the way you can cycle through the lights. I like the way you can adjust the power output on it. So if you've got kids, you can turn it down to 50%. It just seems a decent transmitter, to be honest. Another good thing about this thing is the fact that it's quite nippy, which in itself makes it entertaining. I mean, it does have enough power, even with these rally block tyres on, which are quite grippy, to sort of power slide everywhere. So that in itself, like I say, makes it quite entertaining. And if you wanted to make it go a bit quicker, it'd be a fairly straightforward operation, because you could literally just bung a lipo in it, and I bet it'd be different again. Right then, conclusion time. Would I recommend this RC to anyone? And the answer is going to be yes. Now, when I first got it, I wasn't terribly enthusiastic about it, I must admit, because I'm a little bit more off-road orientated, I'm going to be honest with you, and sort of bombing up and down a road several times, I don't find terribly entertaining. However, with the fact that this has got drift wheels and you can drift it with the rubber tyres on as well, does make it quite entertaining, and it does have a reasonable turn of speed, which also adds to the fun factor. I must admit, never thought I'd hear myself saying that, but the fact that it's quite quick and you can drift it round everywhere, which is in itself is quite addictive, I'm going to say yes, it is quite entertaining and I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Once again, a big thank you to Banggood for supplying this for review. I will try and get a promo code off them, so if you did want to purchase it, you could get a little bit of money off. I will, of course, leave an affiliate link in the description below. I will also put links in for the brushed version as well, which is a little bit cheaper again. Anyway, if you found this video of some use and interest, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button for more similar future content. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you again soon.